This episode of Finding Demo Surf Fishing is being brought to you by Rogue Reels. Head on over to Rogue Reels Fishing, that's reels with a Z.com, and take a look at the collection that Rob has. Lots of different gear from his shark rigs, or also known as the Mica rig, the Smitty rig for sharks if you also have the RC Fishing Surfer, the Demo HD Double Drop Surf rig, which is a heavier mono line. Not to mention the setup with line cutters. Great product right there to get your lines all cut up, and a few other products. Head on over to roguereelsfishing.com and get your stuff all set up to get out there and go get them fish.
This week on Finding Demo Surf Fishing, we're going international, folks. We are going way out of Florida and we are going to Australia. And if you've been following me on social media, you saw me post about this not too long ago about talking with Go Fish Australia. It's happening now. So if you've ever wondered about fishing down there, you're in for a treat. If you've never looked up Australian fishing, it's amazing is a word I guess I could use. It's wonderful on so many levels. The YouTube videos, the pictures, the brochures, all of it. It looks amazing. And tonight we're going to be talking with one of the local charter captains, Cody Edwards of Cody Edwards Fishing and of Go Fish Australia. We're going to talk to him about all of that and then some. So I hope you're ready. You listen to Find the Demo Surf Fishing. Here we go. Oh man, I don't know about you all, but I hope you're doing great wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this podcast, whatever you're doing. May it transport you back to the beach to get you out there with that line in the water and to see that tug and that line bend, bring home dinner, because that is the good stuff right there. So, like I said in the intro, we're going to be going all the way to Australia. Well, already there, enjoying the good life. We're going to be talking with Go Fish Australia's Cody Edwards of Cody Edwards Fishing. So without further ado, me flapping my mouth over and over again, let's get right into it. Cody, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you here.
Awesome, mate. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh, man. We were talking pre-show about some fun stuff. I wish you guys could have seen a little bit of that. I might need to do a Twitch one day so people can see what we're doing when I'm doing these. No, we were talking a little bit of fishing there. I brought up a picture of what I thought was a pompano. And Cody said, I think it's a permit. And we're both pretty much like, now we're both indecisive of which one it is. But it's a hell of a fish. And I can only imagine the other fish that you got going out of there and the things you pick up. So I am extremely excited to learn about your fishery, how you do it, and all about your business and Go Fish Australia, man. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, me too, mate. It's pretty good down here. We've got a really good range of fishing from the top of Australia right down to the bottom. We're pretty lucky.
So you're primarily East Coast Australia.
That's right. Yeah, I live about an hour west of Byron Bay, which is the most easterly point of the country. And where we live, we've got some really good beach fishing, really good freshwater fishing as well. And then if you drive kind of 4 or 5 hours north, you've got like your barramundi and all those sort of sports fish as well.
I've heard the barramundi is quite the trophy.
Mate, they are.
These things. So, before we even get into the questions, you brought it up, man. Let's talk about it. Tell me about those fish.
Yeah, all right. So barramundi are a little bit like a Nile perch, if you know what they look like. They're big and they're cranky and they fight like incredibly hard and quite dirty. They will tangle you around the first stick or snag or anything that's in their sight. So, but they're really good sports fish and quite good eating too if you get them out of the saltwater wild environments.
So going after them, what is the technique? Is it an offshore fish? Is it a beach fish? Tell me about those.
So mostly estuaries, so saltwater to freshwater estuaries. They can grow from, like, obviously you catch them around the 50 to 60 centimeter size, quite common. but they grow right up to like 1.3, 1.4 meters. So
Holy
up around
crap,
that kind of
dude!
40, 50, 60 pounds. Yeah, massive.
Wow, that is
They're
not a
huge,
tiny
yeah.
fish.
But mostly lure fishing for them. So your shallow diving mullet imitation kind of lures. Surface, they love surface lures, so they're really, really good fun to catch.
I actually just came back from ICAST recently here in Florida, or the big fishing convention, and I met the Halco team. And I didn't know much about Halcos before. I mean, the Halco popper, the rooster popper, is a big monster here up in our area in Florida. Really good. And then I learned all these other metal great lures that they've got down there. I,
Yeah.
I'm dumbfounded by their equipment. Do you use any Halco stuff, or what kind of lures do you like to use?
Absolutely. Yeah. The Halco, the rooster popper is quite popular down here as well. We use that on the beach for tailor fishing. So but the Halco 190 in the I think it's a Laser Pro or something it's called. It's a big 190 mil red and white, typical mackerel kind of style lure, but it's an absolute gun for our jewfish off the rocks and off the beaches down here.
Yeah, the colors. The new one they came out with this year that they showed at ICAST is now it's a white and gray, but it glows in the dark for night fishing.
Oh,
And they got it in the rooster, they got it in the laser, and I think they have it in one other. And I was like, you guys can't do this. You just take my money, because you're telling me I can fish during the day. It's beautiful on the color, great shine, great movement, and now you're going to let me do it at night on an iridescent glow? Oh, come on, man, that's not even fair.
there's no more hours in the day. You'll be
No.
fishing 20 hours a day.
Oh, that would be so nice. Oh, I'd be so happy. Okay, so the barramundi, the big angry fish, and wow, in
Yep.
the middle, so fresh and salt together.
Yeah. So they need the salt to spawn. So they can kind of cross over. One of the few fish that like their gills allow them to breathe the salt water and the fresh water. So they're pretty interesting. But they have a lot of stocked impoundments up in Queensland, and then the fish in there they're different. They're because there's no tide, they're not fighting against other fish for food. They grow incredibly quick and quite kind of fat, overweight, but still awesome to catch, but not as good at eating.
Yeah, we run into that too. So when you get to a certain size, it's kind of like how we have it with black drum or red drum. We have a slot, but they start getting wormy and kind of gamey on the meat side, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the fish in Australia, their eating quality comes from the environment they live in. So, in a freshwater dam, it's quite. I mean, it's a stable environment, and the food isn't as good a quality as it would be in the wild. So they get that bit of a muddy taste. Some people say you can soak them in milk overnight and stuff, but we've tried that, and yeah, I'd just rather buy a steak or a packet of sausages, right?
Oh, I get that. There's nothing worse than bringing home a catch that doesn't taste good. Not at all.
No, no.
All right, so let's turn this in. Let's talk about you here. So tell us your story and what got you into fishing.
All right. So I guess my journey started when I was quite young. I've been fishing ever since I can remember, and I think that stems from my dad. I come from a big family. We've got 6 kids, and every family holiday was a bit of a fishing holiday, I guess. Where we would holiday always had to be with water or a creek or a beach or anything like that. So I think Dad thought that out pretty well. But I guess that's where it stems from. My dad and my brothers and everyone in our family kind of enjoys the outdoors, so that's kind of where it comes from.
Nice. Seems to be the common amongst all anglers. Like, yeah, my dad dragged me out, and then I fell in love with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So now, all right. So after all that time, now what type of fishing do you do, or what type of fishing do you like to do?
Oh, well, I explain it to people. I like to catch anything from mullet to marlin and everything in between. Um, I grew up fishing in freshwater, so I love my like Australian bass fishing. It's really, really good. And then progressed into Murray cod, which are like Australia's biggest freshwater fish. But as soon as I got my license around 16, 17 years old, I was just driving anywhere and everywhere to go fishing. So saltwater, freshwater. Obviously started working, and every cent I was earning was going to new fishing gear and putting fuel in the car to go see what was available. So
See, everybody, it's an international problem. It's not just here. We all work to get our gear. That's
100%. Yeah.
a paycheck. 10% can go towards a new rod and reel. Like, yeah, no, maybe 50%. That can all. I need that new reel.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. So when it comes to the salt, when we're talking into the beach side here, because I know you do with chartering and guiding, and we're going to get into that
Yeah.
here a little bit later. On your personal days or with that, when you're going to go out and fish from the beach, how do you plan your fishing days?
Well, I do look at the weather. It's not 100% like if the weather's bad, I'm not going to go. You got to go when you can. But tide is probably what I would look at more than anything. Beach fishing, the fish use the tide to bring the food to them. So on our gutters and beaches on the eastern coast of Australia, we generally fish generally fish the high tide and then the start of the run out. So the little bait fish will come in with the high tide and push up onto the beach as far as they can. And then the big fish will obviously follow them. And when that tide goes to move out is when your little fish have to leave the gutters. And that's when you'll find your jewfish and your tailor and brim and flathead and stuff will sit on the outside of the gutters and just kind of feed on the little fish getting pushed out by the tide.
Okay. Do you have a better on the high tide, low tide? Do you have a preference, or is it just you want a moving tide?
Well, I like the high tide and then the start of the run out. So that first 2 hours of run out. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny in different places. So I've heard people in Jacksonville, Florida, have told me they like, high and low. Give me the top first hour, last hour of the tides. North Carolina have given me a little bit more on the high tide. They like the same thing, the top two on and down.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny. Here in our area, we only have one tide a day in the Gulf of Mexico. And it really messes people up when they come here. Like, well, when's high tide? I'm like, it's like in another 8 hours. Like, wait, how? We have one tide a day.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit of fun movement here, but we have one tide messes everybody up when they come here. But whenever you go everywhere else, those I can imagine, especially like you, high tide, give me the top two. It's like, you can stay out here another 6 hours, man. You're gonna catch. Don't worry. You just sit down and enjoy. Okay. All right. So you've got the top two on the high tide side. Now, have you planned that one out with the weather?
Yeah.
Cool. How do you select your spot?
If I'm going to a new spot, I'll probably generally spend 10 or 15 minutes just looking at the surf, seeing what the waves are doing. 95% of our beaches on the East Coast, like kind of central East Coast down, are very kind of surf rough. So like there's quite big waves. So I just generally have a look around and see what's going on, like to take in the environment is probably one of the most important things, stuff that's going on around you. If you look deeper, like have a look at the birds, see what the birds are doing, what point they're sitting on, all these sorts of things. Obviously, if there's people swimming or surfing, try to avoid those areas because they're going to be making commotion, and fish generally don't like that. But that's probably what I'll do if I roll into a new spot.
Birds is an overlooked thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Yeah. So you talk about heavy surf in that area. Is that constant or is that seasonal?
I think to answer that, it would be pretty constant. It would be unusual to roll into a beach on the East Coast, say from Byron Bay down, and then not be any waves. That's just not a thing. But once you get to kind of just north of Brisbane in Queensland, there's the Great Barrier Reef, which blocks a lot of that surf coming in. So it's different conditions up there. So yeah, kind of 50% of our beaches would be surf beaches for sure. But you got to use that to your advantage as well. Gutters are quite easy to see when the surf's rolling through. The waves don't break in deeper water. So if you've got a gutter, you can see where it is because the waves aren't breaking there, and the fish use that as a bit of a feeding channel.
Yeah, I always call that the highway exit. You got that whole line. It's
Yep.
like, oh, that's where you're. Don't worry, I'll put one here. I'll put one here.
Yep.
One here.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of the same techniques we do. All right. So it's, again, throughout the world, we're all following the same stuff. I don't know why people are like, oh, that's how
right.
we do it there. They don't do it there. We all do it the same.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got your spot picked. Now, how are you setting up your gear when you get to your spot? Now, what I mean by that is sand, like if you're using set rigs, or how many sand spikes, are you doing big spacing? Where are you casting your lines? We'll start with those two, and then we'll get into the other ones here.
All right, cool. All right, so basically, when I go fishing, I'll take 2 rods. I'll take one set up for bait and one set up with a lure. My bait rod generally kind of goes. If you think of a gutter like a horseshoe, there'll be an entry and an exit. So I set my bait rod up at one end, and then I throw lures from the other end up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, dude. I never thought about it
what I'm talking about.
Like a horseshoe is not something I ever thought of. I always thought of a bowl, but that horseshoe makes a lot of sense. So a set rig and that, dude, that's smart targeting right there. Wow. All right, I'm feeling inadequate. All right, so let's talk about your set rig then, and then we're going to talk about your lure rig. What are you using for bait on your set rigs?
So I'll run you through start to finish. So I personally use braid in the surf. I find it just cuts through the waves a bit better. Doesn't move your bait around as much. So I'll generally run a 20 or 30 pound braid down to a fluorocarbon leader, same 20 or 30 pound. I'll run a surf sinker. Do you guys use surf sinkers over there?
We do. So you've got the whole gambit. You got frog tongues, pyramids. I normally use Sputniks. The ones with the wires that go in. So you got that football style and the wires that dig in.
Yep. Okay. So what I would use is like to explain it, it kind of looks like a spaceship, kind of like not a bean sinker. It's like a flat disc. So it doesn't roll around on the sand on the bottom and it doesn't tangle up your gear. So I'll run that on my main line down to a swivel, and then down to a depending on the bait, probably a 3 or 4 kind of size hook.
Wow, 3/0 or 4/0. Okay, getting after it there. All right.
Yeah.
So let me back up a little bit here for your sinker, because I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's one of the flat round discs, probably a 3-4 ounce or something. That you're using.
That's right.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those hold up pretty well.
Yeah.
They don't flop around much, huh?
No, not too bad. No.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. That's fun.
And a little bit of movement is good for us. If it's kind of moving naturally on the bottom of the sea floor, I guess you call it, it's kind of, it works better, I guess, instead of just anchoring it to one spot.
Yeah, another angler that I follow very closely up here in our area, he likes to use the bank sinkers, the ones that are basically just, I guess it's the same there as this here. You just throw it out, and he likes it because it'll roll and move to where the rip current is or where the current is flowing, and it sticks that right in that zone of that feeding target. And he basically turns his rig into a fish finder. So it's, I've heard great things about that. So I can imagine the disc being the same thing. It keeps you out there, but it'll move to where you need it to be. Eventually it'll creep itself in without falling apart. Okay. So the drop rig, we got that with that one. Now, what kind of bait are you normally throwing on there? Or is it target?
Depending on what I'm targeting, if you're just going down there to catch a fish, I would go a smaller hook, probably a 4 or a 6 in a long shank. And then bait wise, I would be putting on like a beach worm or a yabby or something like that. But if I'm targeting tailor or jewfish, those biggest size kind of beach fish we have here, I would go to like a minimum 3/0 up to kind of a 6, 7. Some people fish 8/0s with a big slab of kind of mullet for bait.
Mullet is such a great bait.
It's the best all rounder you can get.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorites. I mean, here we're targeting red drum, and I'm using a lot of rigs kind of like this here. I'm showing him. For those of you that are listening, we're actually doing this through video, but I'm showing him one of my Rogue Reels rigs. It's an 8/0 hook on a ridiculous amount of strength, but you throw that down there with a nice chunk of mullet. Oh man, hang on, it's game. It's coming up.
Hell yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds like a lot of fun you got there. Okay, so you run those ones. And you already answered my other questions. So, okay, so you set those ones up there. Now, what I normally play with here is so you run 2 rigs. You got that one. What are you playing with when you do your set rig, when you're throwing it out? You know, we're talking about the horseshoe. So you've got the inlet, the outlet, and the bowl in between. Where are you throwing your set rig at? Are you throwing it on the runs, or are you going into the bowl? Where are you throwing it?
Yeah, I would throw it on one of the runs or the entry or exit point. Just generally, you just find to have more luck with the fish there, because that's the only reason that they're there is to feed. Sometimes the jewfish or tailor will come into that bowl you talk about, and they might have a feed and then just kind of chill out, you know. And if your bait's sitting there on the bottom next to them, they're probably not going to eat it. But if they're sitting on the entry or exit, they're there for food, and that's their only option.
Okay. So you were talking about so your other rig is a lure. What do you normally throw in with the lures?
So if it's daytime, I'll generally just put a metal lure on and throw it for tailor. So tailor are like a fast moving, not quite like a mackerel. They're a little bit smaller, but they love that really fast moving metal lure, especially on the surface. So anywhere between 40 and 60 grams, that kind of 2 or 3 inches, that'll catch your fish.
Nice. And
But
when you're
if we're
throwing
targeting jewfish, which are those, sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Oh, if we're targeting jewfish, those bigger kind of beach fish, I'll use that Halco in the Laser Pro in the red and white 190 mil. Either that or a big white soft plastic. In a paddle tail or something like that, and just hop it along the bottom.
Okay, man, that sounds like a lot of fun out there, especially being able to do it that way. So you get both worlds there, going 2 rods. Nice. What length are you using on your set rig, and what length are you using for your rig rod?
So set rig, I would go in between like a 10 and 12 foot rod, with like a 5 to 8,000 size reel. And then my lure fishing rod, I generally go a little bit lighter, maybe an 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 foot, with like a 4 or 5,000 size reel on it.
What kind of gear? I mean, let's drop some names. What kind of rod and reel are you using?
Oh man, my gear, I fish a lot, and my gear isn't that good. You know what I mean? Like I'm quite happy to use. I work at a fishing shop, so I'm pretty blessed with prices and stuff like that. But my combo that I use is like $189 Australian for the rod and the reel. It's a Shimano Sedona with a Shimano Classics rod, I think it is. It's 10'6", and it just does everything I need it to. Yeah, and especially with the salt and the sand, and I'm not going to go spend $500-600 on a reel and have it kind of stuff out on me in a couple of years because it's been dropped in the sand. But I do have a lot of gear, but it's just not all that like massive top shelf crazy price stuff.
Same. Absolutely same. No, I've told people this so many times. You know, you can go into the local big box shop and go pick up a Shakespeare and still be able to catch fish. You don't have to get into it. I've had one conversation where a guy looked at me, he's like, "Oh, you don't have a Van Staal." And I was like, "No, I don't have $700 to throw at a reel, man. What are you talking about?"
Exactly.
My most expensive reel is 180 US, and I had heartburn spending that 180. That hurt that's real dollars. So please don't think a Shimano makes great product. I've got several on the Shimano side. I'm actually going to be picking a new one up here very soon for my kayak, which I cannot wait for. I just need my wife to not pay attention to the account for a month. But we're not going to talk about that because she sometimes listens to the podcast. But no, please don't even think of it. Yeah, no, I really, as much as I do love name brand things on certain levels, I fully endorse anyone that can get a piece of gear. If it works, who cares whose name is on it? And I know that's horrible to say.
Exactly.
That is just how I truly feel. And the funny part is my sponsors. I have two rod makers that I've used their gear. I use Ninja Tackle 12-foot rods. They're 7 and they're 9. I use his stuff. He makes it all. He's always been a big fan of like, dude, use what works. It's always been that way. I actually picked up a smaller company set of reels. They've been great online. It's a company called PC Fun. I ended up kind of finding out that them, and I just started using I've got one of their reels. I finally am about to. I think it's finally going to fail, and the only reason it's going to fail is because I let it sit for 2 months without being used. It got mad at me. So I think honestly that gear, if it works for you, fit, form, function, you can't go wrong. Not even a little.
Yeah. Exactly. And specifically with that beach and saltwater stuff, your gear just cops an absolute flogging, and to go and spend $500 or $600 on a reel would be ridiculous.
Bait check. This first bait check is being brought to you by The Sinker Guy. Head on over to thesinkerguy.com and take a look at everything that Chip has going on in the Sinker Guy garage. If you need to be set up with rigs, got you covered. Measuring tape, you know he's got them. The Baker 9-inch stainless steel scissors, which are great for cutting up crabbies and a bunch of other bait pieces. Yep, he's got you covered. Oh, and did you know he sold sinkers? That's right, he does. They are definitely in the shop. So head on over to thesinkerguy.com. Get yourself all set up to get out there and go fishing with great products and great prices. Really fast shipping. Thanks, Chip.
People can do what they want. By all means, you guys go do whatever it is you like.
Yeah.
We love and support you.
Yeah.
We do. So go ahead. All right. So now we talked about that one. We talked about where you're throwing your stuff. We talked about what types of baits and lures you use. Nice job on that. We talked about different fish that you've caught and you target there. Here, it's also the same thing with our surf. I can imagine it's probably the same there. Is you can go out and you can target one species, but there's a great chance you're going to catch 4 other species. And it's the natural habit of the byproduct. Everything loves the bait. Is there when you go to the beach, there's this, hey, look, I really want to catch these fish to take home for dinner, or I want to catch these ones for the trophy. Is there a certain set of fish like that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're going to the beach just to catch a feeder fish for dinner, you're more than likely going to run into brim. They're probably the most common fish on our beaches. They're okay eating. They're kind of quite bony, and you don't get much meat for the size of the fish. And because of that reason, I basically let 99% of the brim go. They're quite slow growing as well. So to take one that's 30 centimeters, it's like 22 years old or something. You know, they're really slow growing. So, but if you're using that rig for brim, you're probably going to run into flathead as well. They're like name gives it away, a flathead. They look a little bit like a flounder, but they're more elongated, I guess, a bit longer, and really, really good eating, easy to clean. You just got to be really careful of the spikes because they're pretty nasty when they get you. But there's other things like whiting and dart, and the list goes on and on. But the brim, the flathead, whiting, and dart, they're probably our main 4 fish you'll see on the beaches on the east coast of Australia.
So when you say whiting, is whiting the proper name, or is it a kingfish?
It's a whiting. It's a yellowfin whiting, I think it's called.
Oh, the yellowfin. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm tracking. So we have whiting here, but our whiting are called kingfish. So it's always that's one thing that throws numerous people is you start saying one name and people are like, wait, they have hold up. It's not the same fish.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's just the Aussie slang coming out. But yeah, whiting, I'm pretty sure it's a yellowfin whiting. And they have King George whiting, which are down in Victoria, which is like the southern end of Australia, down in South Australia. And they're massive. I mean massive as in like 60 to 70 centimeters. But for a whiting, that's huge.
That is a big fish. Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty large. You know what? Just because you're on here, I'm gonna have to do this, and I can edit this out later. Yeah, this is how we do. So yeah, we southern, northern, and Gulf kingfish, and these are our
Right.
white.
Twitter
So
user.
these are we've got three different. We got southern kingfish, we got the northern kingfish, which I like to call the combat whiting, with this nice little camouflage pattern on here, and then the
Yep.
Gulf kingfish, little very similar to the southern, but these little tasty taco morsels, man.
Good.
Oh, they are delicious. They are absolutely.
Must be something about the name.
Yeah, it's always the name thing. They're really tasty. They're good fish to go with. There's a really good picture for Texas. So yeah, that's a little bit better on that. And they
Is
don't
that a
get
combat? Yeah.
what's that?
Is that a combat whiting? Combat.
This one's more so. But yeah, you can see right here the real difference. Like that's a really good live difference. So you got the Gulf and then the northern right there. You can, the color change is significant.
Yeah, definitely.
But the tail always the same. But whiting is a delicious fish here. It's one of my favorite bycatches when it comes to fishing in this area. You can't really go wrong with whiting. It's a great one. And they get to be about, I think I've caught a couple of, 14 inchers, maybe a few times. They're not, they get decent size, but real tasty.
Yep.
All right. I sidetracked myself there. All right. So we talked about kind of fish you can target. What is your favorite fish to target?
Oh, I saw this question come up, and it's a tough one. I mean, where my heart lies is freshwater, so my favorite fish to target would be Australian bass. But if we're talking beach fishing, you can't go past the jewfish there, or a mulloway. They've got two names, but they can be there one day and gone the next. They call them silver ghosts. So they're big, they fight hard, they taste good. Extremely difficult to get a pattern on them. They're like I said, they can be there feeding one day, and you go back with exactly the same bait, same rig, everything, and they're gone the next day on the same turn of the tide or whatever. But jewfish, because of their size, it's an ongoing battle between not going too heavy, but using heavy enough gear to be able to get them in. So when we're talking big, like they grow up to 5 feet long, like a 70-pounder is a good sized jewfish. So your gear has to kind of just be heavy enough, but not too heavy, because they won't eat your lure or won't eat your bait if you're using 100-pound leader. They're that smart. And sometimes I've caught jewfish up around that kind of 1.2 meters that feel like a little peck, like a bait fish tapping at your bait, and all of a sudden you feel the weight and bang, they take off. And the first run from a jewfish can be between kind of 60 or 80 meters, 100 meters at a time without stopping. So if they're going with the tide, you just got to go with them. You got to run down the rocks or run along the beach and try and keep up with them.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again, because this is going to kind of, I want to show you something funny. So you start talking about jewfish. So here's your mulloway, right?
Yep.
Here's a red drum.
Wow, it's very similar.
Horribly similar. Like, I'm staring at it going, you call it a mulloway. I'm looking, the only thing it's missing is this spot.
Yeah.
I mean, this fin, the dorsal, all of this is exactly the same.
Yep.
So I'm like,
very similar. They must be in the same family.
They must be. I mean, I'm going to have to look after the show here, because I'm like, all right, let's take a look at all this one here. But it started getting me going. Like, it's going to get me through the whole thing here. Oh, there we go. So we got I'm not even going to try that one. Not even going to try it. I've never been good with Latin.
What kind of size do the red drums grow to?
So 40, 50 inches pretty easily. I mean, they can get, we call those bowls. So our normal slot is 27 inches and under to 14, I think. I have to recheck the regs. But, yeah, they can get stupid big. And those are the super breeders. They get put back in. But Yeah, that's funny how similar those two fish are, because you start talking about, I'm like, why does that
Yeah.
sound familiar? And I remember thinking something about it. I had to go back and look. So very close to our red drum. Okay. So you kind of talked about this earlier. I'm going to go ahead and skip it. What do you do when you go to a new place? Because you mentioned what you do there. But this one is one that
Yep.
I think a lot of people overlook. How do you adjust your tactics for fishing when the fishing bite is not on fire?
That's a really, really good question. I saw that one, and I think the first thing I will do is start to try something different. So instead of that red and white lure, go for that gold shiny. Try and get a bit of a different reaction bite. So fish basically feed for two reasons. One is for food to stay alive, and two is it's a natural instinct to try and kind of get something out of their territory. So if something's really loud and shiny and just kind of pissing them off, they're going to try and whack it out of their kind of zone. So that would be my first port of call, I think, just to try something a bit different. You can downsize. So downsizing your leader, downsizing your hook size, just kind of making it easier for them to eat your bait or your lure. And then the third thing I would probably do is try and what I call fanning my casts around. So instead of just throwing your lure in the same kind of zone, um, have 5 casts, a bit like a clock. So cast from say 9 o'clock right around to 3 o'clock out in front of you. Walk down 30 or 40 meters, do the same thing, cast from 9 till 3, and then walk down and just try and cover as much ground as you can, I guess.
That's smart tactics. That's really good call. I never even thought about the clock method, because normally I was just fire
Yep.
straight, walk, fire straight, walk.
Yep.
But that idea of walk out, down there and just start walking the clock and then move, walk the clock, then move. That's really
That's
very,
right.
very smart. Nice point.
Yep.
All right, so let's move into let's move into the new other company here. Let's talk about Go Fish Australia. So tell us about the company,
Yeah.
man. Tell us about Go Fish Australia.
So Go Fish Australia, we do fishing holidays, I guess you'd call it, down in Australia, and we've got amazing packages specifically tailored for whatever the customer needs. So from Darwin up in the Northern Territory, you can go helicopter fishing for barramundi, or we've got marlin fishing off Cairns, and then right down to Fraser Island, tailor fishing with the local Aborigine people. Which is a really, really cool experience. I've done that with them. The guide there, his name's Andrew. He's a local Aborigine, and he will start a fire on the beach and cook your fish literally 2 minutes after catching it. It's incredible. It's so cool. And then for us here, where we're near Byron Bay, we do a lot of we do a rainforest fishing session. So up in the hinterland of Byron, we do bass fishing up in the middle of like the big mountain streams, which is really, really cool. But we have been affected by floods, so that's kind of just on the recovery at the moment, and a little bit seasonal too. Bass fishing here is mainly a summer thing. So in the winter, then we focus on our beaches and stuff. But yeah, if you need any info, obviously jump on the Go Fish Australia website, send us an email, and yeah, we can book a trip for you.
Dude, it sounds amazing. It's like a one-stop shop of just danger for me. Oh man. And you get to live that.
Yeah,
That makes it even. I'm super jealous, man. And you're living the dream, man.
I never get sick of hearing that.
I can imagine.
Someone's got to do it.
Let's talk about that. Hold up, because two that have always stung out to me that really caught my attention, especially on the website when I was going through it. I was very surprised when Ange came up and told me about these pieces. Like, oh yeah, we do this with one fishing with the Aborigine team, because it's more than just him. He has other people that go out with the group, right? Or was it one guide?
There is one main guide. I think he does use a couple of other locals, depending on the size of the group. If there's only 2 or 3 people, then it might just be just one guide. But there's a tribe of Aborigines still on Stradbroke Island that he can kind of use if there's a bigger group. So,
okay. So
everything's very tailored to the size.
All right. So you fly out via helicopter to get there, because
Helicopter,
You can't
yep.
get there.
Yep.
So you get out there, you fly out, you land, you go fishing for, I believe it was 4 to 6 hours or something of that nature.
That's right. Yep.
And you're learning. I mean, he's just firing knowledge at you the whole time. I mean, you're learning while fishing.
Yep.
He's not catching the fish. He's showing you what to do, how to do it, and talking to you the whole way through.
That's
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's a very unique experience. It's something that that it's not very kind of highly offered in Australia. It's pretty rare to get that Aboriginal experience, and just the knowledge of the people, and just that thousands and thousands of years of doing it. It just oozes out of him. He's not a hugely outgoing guy, but the knowledge he has, you just listen. He's just one of those guys. Every word that comes out of his mouth is very it's very important, and it's just kind of something that you just got to soak in, stay in the moment.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, if he opened his mouth and told me anything, I would just shut up for hours. But just keep talking. I'm listening. Tell me. Hold on. Oh yeah, I threw it there. No, you don't throw it there. Where do I throw it? How do I throw it? Wow. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun, and I can imagine that being a huge experience for
Insane.
any angler. Their hands on camera.
Yeah.
What's this helicopter fishing for? What was that again?
For barramundi.
What's helicopter fishing for barramundi?
So barramundi are a northern species here in Australia, and the further you can get away from civilization, the better the fishing gets. So what better way to jump in a helicopter and just kind of find a place that not many other people have been to, jump out of the helicopter and just catch a barramundi straight off the bank, have it cooked there right in front of you.
Island hopping fishing is brilliant. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Whoever came up with that is freaking genius. I mean, seriously, you know what? I don't want to be around people. What are we going to do? Yeah, get in the bird. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yep, we're going. Oh, man.
Yeah. Full Arnold Schwarzenegger fishing.
Oh, dude, that's got to be so much fun. So do you do that, or do you stay on the
Not yet. COVID kind of ruined a couple of trips for us. But the tourism industry is slowly crawling its way back, with international travel opened up now. So fingers crossed, in the next probably 6 to 12 months, we'll have a trip up in Darwin.
Nice, man. So when you were saying if they want to book a trip or find out anything more about Go Fish Australia, they need to go to the website. Is that correct?
Yeah, jump on the website. It's www.gofishaustralia.com.au, and just flick us an email and let us know what you want to do, and we can build a fishing trip based around what you want to do. So it's super tailored, and it's an incredible experience. If you ever come down to Australia, you've got to try it.
Yeah, that part I heard when and sent me that email. He's like, "What kind of fishing do you want to talk about? Like, we'll tailor anything to you." It's like, no. There is limits on the Visa card for what I want to be able to fish. No. And I
can extend the visa. We'll just,
We'll just I got the sense of it through the emails back and forth with you guys, that it was literally, hey, I want to do this kind of fishing at this. Okay, no problem. We got you. You guys can cover it, take care of it, and get it done.
That's it. Yep.
That's not healthy for me. I love it. Dude, it's so great. Oh, that's so. How did you get involved with Go Fish Australia?
So I work for a tackle shop in town, so which is a little bit like a Bass Pro Shop. It's called BCF, which is stands for Boating, Camping, Fishing. So I've been working for them for the last 5 or 6 years, and I just met Ange through BCF. She was after some info, and we just got chatting, and my first job interview where with her, we went out and just sat down and had a beer at the pub, which was good. And she's so good to get along with. So we got along like house and fire, and it all stemmed from there.
You can't go wrong with an interview starts at a pub.
That's what I thought.
This is like the perfect company to work for. Yes, we encourage this.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
In moderation. In moderation.
In moderate, yes, always important. All right, so working for BCF, okay, and then Ange, cool, moved in that one. All
Yeah.
right, so let's back it up a little bit further then. What got you into guiding?
Well, that's a good question. It's a funny story. I've got this mate who has always liked fishing, but he's really crap at it. So I've been guiding him since I was like 10 years old. And he was he was always pushing me. He's like, man, you've got to be a fishing guide. You're too good at this. He would always explain how bad he was, but that going with me made him better. So that kind of started from a young age. And who wouldn't want to be a fishing guide? You know, you go out and take people fishing and experience their first fish with them. It's pretty cool.
Oh, there's nothing quite like somebody's first fish excitement. That adrenaline, that smile.
Yeah.
So what
Sure.
comes with going on a guided trip with you?
So with us, we try and keep it as lighthearted as we can. You know, like rule number one is to have fun. Whether you're paddling the freshwater streams or beach fishing, it's always going to be a laugh. It's always going to be informational as well. I like to teach people. I like to have people leave with something that they didn't know before they came. And I've had people come on a fishing trip with us and not even be able to cast, never used a rod and reel before, and then to catch them their first fish is just like, it's unreal, really good.
Nice, man. You sound like you run that one. So you don't just do salt charters though. You do fresh and salt, correct?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay.
So our freshwater stuff is like Australian bass and Murray cod. So they're all inland as well. We do have a helicopter package as well that you can jump on a helicopter and go catch Murray cod for a day. So you can be in Brisbane one day, go out to the outback, they call it, catch a Murray cod, and then fly back to Brisbane for dinner all in a day.
You say that way too nonchalantly. Oh, I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I'm so thrilled at this. So targeting fish really kind of depends on the target on the customer, essentially. Really, I mean, if they tell you want to catch something, if they just tell you want to fish, you pretty much can tell them, hey, look, we'll go catch this and we'll go here.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. So it all depends on the customer and the experience they're after as well. You know, some people want to see a platypus or something in real life. So we'll take them to one of these bass streams. And then I've taken a group of 4 Americans, and I think only one of them picked up a rod for the entire 4 hours. And I was totally okay with that. They were just blown away by the spot, and a platypus came up literally a meter away from their kayak as we're paddling along and just has a look at them and then dives off back into the water. But they weren't there for the fishing. They were there for the experience as a whole. And I think, yeah, one of them picked up a rod and had a bit of a cast. And I was just like, oh, well, do you want me to catch a fish and show you what they look like? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I picked up a rod and caught them a fish and showed them, and they were happy.
Way to go, man. I mean, you made their experience. That's huge. You hit it all.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's about.
Nice job, Cody. Really, I mean, you sound like an awesome guy to go on a guided trip with. Just for those points alone, you know, you definitely sound very customer forward, and it's, you know, all about the experience and having a good time. So you can tell based on everything you've just said and your demeanor and how I could see you talking. I could see that is so genuine about you. So, bravo, sir.
No,
bravo.
Thanks. Yes, thank you.
How is running a charter different than your normal fishing day?
That's a good question. I think running a charter does come with a little bit of pressure with some clients, I think. And I think it boils down to fish are fish. Sometimes they don't want to eat, you know, like there's no magical wand you can wave and just all of a sudden fish start jumping in your boat. But I think if I take a client out fishing, it is all about them. And sometimes when I go fishing by myself, I go just to chill out, or like it's not generally about how many fish I catch or how big they are. It's just the activity as a whole. So I think that's probably the major two differences. One with the client being having a little bit more pressure on you, depending on the client. But when I go by myself, it's sometimes I'll throw a bait out and just sit down and watch the waves for a while and just chill.
Bait check. Oh, yeah. Number 2 bait checks being brought to you today by Sword Fishing Products. Head on over to swordfishingproducts.com or swordtools.com. They will both bring you there. And get yourself all set up with the really great fillet knives and utility knife that they have available. They have special editions out at this time, so you can get your hands on these great blades. They are sharp, they are strong, they are durable, and they have a lifetime warranty. No questions asked, lifetime warranty. Many questions about that, reach on out to Sword. They'll tell you the stories, and if you listen back to their episode, they'll tell you about one certain blade. So head on over to swordfishingproducts.com. Get yourself all set up with a great set of fillet knives and bait knives and tools that you could use. Thanks, Sword. Appreciate you.
This is not on the paper, so I'm going to throw you a fun curve here, but I also want it for other people. So
Cool.
You're just south of Gold Coast. Byron Bay is down there. So running M1 north from Byron Bay to Brisbane, how long is the drive?
Yep. About 3.5 hours.
So for a fun reference for people, when you start thinking 3.5 hours here, that's almost the distance from Connecticut to the southern tip of Maine. So when you guys start looking at these trips for Australia, remember, Australia fits in the U.S. continent quite nicely, and it's a giant country. It is not tiny by any way, shape, or form. As I see here also, I mean, where are you guys? You're situated pretty well. Come on. Byron Bay to Sydney, though, is what, 7-hour drive?
Yeah, 7.5 if you get a bad run.
No, but Sydney is the main airport for fly-in to get there, correct?
That'd be right. Yeah. Yep.
No. So when you fly into Sydney to go to the East Coast, be ready for a little bit of a drive up the road a bit to get to the other places for fishing. But M1 and A1, all I see is just danger zone of happiness to stop and fish the entire way up the whole coastal side. And you've got so much you can go with between rivers, lagoons, surf, national parks. I mean, it's dangerous because it's perfect on that one. But between the Northern Territory all the way back down to Sydney with being so much coastline, what is the big difference in fish population, as in species, between that northern and southern area?
That's a good question. I think, well, once you get from, say, Byron Bay down to Sydney, it's a very, very populated coast. So the fishing pressure and that sort of thing is higher. When you get from, say, Brisbane to Cairns, the towns get further apart, the weather gets hotter, and the amount of people that live there is less. So, and I might just touch on the danger from Brisbane north increases, I guess, like with your crocodiles and snakes and all that sort of stuff. So people generally don't just jump in a kayak and go paddle up in a stream up in Townsville or Cairns, because you might not be paddling home. But like, I think the fish up there are a more tropical style fish. So you get your mackerel, your trevally, barramundi, mangrove jack, all that sort of thing. And then from, say, Brisbane down, you get a lot more of your southern cold water fish. So your tuna, your mackerel, and your brim and tailor and that sort of thing. So I think there's a bit of a blend where we are in Byron Bay is kind of the changeover from that tropical species down to the colder kind of species you catch.
And that's what I had a feeling of. So with the coastline differential that we were talking about with the size from the north to the southern territory, it's kind of how I look at the eastern seaboard of the Atlantic Ocean along the U.S. If you get to Virginia mid-country, you get a decent mixture of all types of fish. But it could also be the splitting point between striper, striped bass, north, bluefish. The size changes once they start going south. Pompanoes stop. The Florida or the pompano in general. They are Florida pompanos, with I guess the proper name being. They get into the Carolinas, and then they'll start doing a little bit of Virginia, and then they'll kind of start turning south before they hit Maryland and the northern port there. But with your countryside being the kind of the same differential, and that's what I was thinking, is that, all right, with your two zones, because it is split, the temperature is going to change between that much land in the water. I had a feeling that's kind of cool that you were able to tell me that. Thanks on that. But with the northern territory like that, and you started telling me about the things that are going to kill you in the water, it reminded me of the pilot I was talking about for pre-show. We had a great pilot when I was in the Marines. We had an exchange program with the Australian Air Force, and we switched pilots, and he came over and flew with us on our deployment. And he reminded me, he's like, Gunny, just remember, everything in Australia wants to kill and eat you. So it was kind of like, that's really comforting. And he's like, don't worry, it's only you'll be okay. And I was like, no, nothing about that sounds good.
Look, I think we talk it up a bit too much too. It's not that bad. You've just got to be careful. It's like anything. If you meet up with a local, they will know the right practice, and if they should be running you through the right practice in certain parts of the country. From Brisbane down south, you're pretty safe. Just don't get bitten by a brown snake or redback spider or anything like that.
Oh, I thought you were about to give me like a list of creatures. Like, don't touch this. Don't play with that. Watch out for this. And I've heard about the spider. I've heard evil things about the damn spider.
Yeah, not great.
Oh, that's just comical right there in itself. All right, back into this fun part here. Because now I'm going to have to go back and ask questions, but we're going to continue here. What have been some most valuable lessons learned after starting and running a charter business?
That's a good question. So valuable lessons, I think, is you got to take each client individually. You don't know people's background. You've got to get to know people very quickly, and just being a good judge of character on what a client wants, or simply just asking them, what are you looking to get out of this experience? Being upfront and open with people gets you a long way. But yeah, that's what I would kind of say to that.
What has been your personal favorite fishing memory?
Oh, this is a tough one because there's been so many. I think one that stands out for me is I took a mate of mine barramundi fishing up in central Queensland, so kind of halfway up Queensland. We'd been fishing for 5 days for barramundi. I think I'd caught like 5 or 6. He hadn't caught anything. And he's watching me, and he's really like wanting to learn. And he's watching, and you got to twitch your lure like every kind of second, like twitch, pause, twitch, pause. And he's watching me. And as my lure's coming closer to the boat, kind of like 12, 15 foot away from the boat, a barramundi eats my lure, jumps out of the water, lands in the water, jumps out of the water, lands in the boat. And this thing is like 85 centimeters, like 15, 20 pounds. And it is going mental. And there's hooks and stuff flying everywhere. And we're both in hysterics laughing. And he was quick enough and smart enough to grab the net. And he actually netted it to the floor of the boat so it couldn't break all our gear. But yeah, I mean, that one is one of hundreds and hundreds of stories, but it was, that stands out. It was pretty funny.
Absolutely, man. I mean, full of fight and in the boat in less than 5 seconds. Oh man, he is pissed. Yep. I mean,
he was not happy.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about fishing?
Oh, that's a good question as well. I'd have to say the feeling you get from either catching a fish or putting your time and effort and focus into catching that trophy fish and then watching it swim away is unreal. It's so hard to explain. And I guess if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably got that same feeling. It's irreplaceable with any alcohol or drugs or anything. Like it is a drug. Fishing is the most addictive drug ever. So yeah, I think the feeling you get from from rewarding yourself for putting in time and effort and catching that once in a lifetime trophy fish.
Yeah, the tug is definitely the drug.
Yeah,
Stupid
sure.
rod just sits there, and all of a sudden it bends, and you're like, yes! Oh, that
We're
feels.
on. We're on.
Oh, love that, man. Love that. I know this isn't in the questions. You do some night fishing, right?
I do. Yeah.
So do you use glow sticks on the line or on the rod?
I generally use like a glow stick on the, you call them spikes, the like a tube that goes into the sand, so
Oh,
you can
sand spike.
see.
Okay.
And then I just use a ratchet on the reel, so I don't really use any glow sticks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a warning. The ratchet going off. So that's your.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
tells you.
it's
Okay.
you guys would have bait runners over there where you can like flick the switch on the back of your reel and there's zero drag, no tension. Yeah. So that's what we
Yeah.
use at night.
Okay. So that's your alarm. All right. So I normally use I think it's Out Sunny. I'll have to relook it up. But there's these little glow sticks. They're maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches long that attach to the tip of the rod. Then they stay out of the they're out of the way of the guides and everything. So all you have at night is, you've got pitch black, but then you've got just this little green light at the very tip.
Cool.
That stupid thing, when that rod bends and that glow stick is wiggling, that is a whole different adrenaline than day fishing for me. I don't know why, but man,
Yeah,
I instantly like, yeah, let's do it. You just go nuts. So I can imagine like the sound, because I have the exact same thing, that the bell sound essentially on my Achios, my 656. You put that on and it's just, you hear that drag. And,
yeah. I could use that as my ringtone on my
go.
phone, I reckon.
I might have to send you the one I have. So unfortunately, because we're doing this live and I'll have to edit this out, every 25 minutes I do a bait check. And it's the sound for the bait check is actually my reel sound on drag getting pulled. So it's, I know it's a little tingler, man. I'll send you the audio file so you have it.
Yeah,
please. It's a good one to make for a ringtone. Okay, almost done. What is a bucket list fish for you to catch?
I put a bit of thought into this. I think we spoke offline earlier about are large and smallmouth bass as easy to catch as you would think, and I reckon I would love to come over and do some freshwater fishing for large or smallmouth. I think our Australian bass are very similar to your smallmouth. They can be really finicky, but when they're on, they're really on. Like it's a bit of both. But yeah, I'd really love to catch a largemouth. I reckon that's what I'd go with.
Oh man, you're gonna love it when you come here then. Because if you did come to Florida, and if you went specifically, well, our area is great for it. But if you went to the East Coast side, you'd be able to go largemouth, smallmouth, and then peacock bass in a day.
Yeah.
So
sign me up.
yeah, I've heard good things about that over in the Jacksonville and St. Augustine area of people being able to catch peacock bass and then going inland and getting large and smallies.
Yeah, we need to do that.
It's funny. We're both like, yeah, hey, I'll go there for a week. You go here for a week. We'll call it good.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
With that, so with the bucket list, there also comes always the ideal, like I'd love to go here. Where would be a dream place for you to go try and fish?
I've got to go to Gunnersville, I reckon.
Gunnersville. All right. Where's that?
Yeah. That's a bass lake.
Oh, okay.
In America.
That's why I don't know it. That hits it right there. Everybody's like, how do you not know this? I know this. Everybody in the episode's like, how do you not know? Because I suck at freaking freshwater fishing. You all know this about me. Worst freshwater fisherman I ever met. Just ask my cousin.
Yeah, they run a couple of rounds of the Major League Bass Pro Comps, I guess you call them over there. Gunnersville always just looks awesome.
All right, I'm gonna Google it. I'll do that before the end of the night. Okay, so last two questions that aren't on the paper.
All right.
First one, what is something you recommend to a new angler before they ever go out fishing for the very first time?
My answer to that would be stop in at your local tackle shop and just ask them 5 questions. Where are the fish biting? What bait are they using? What gear should I be using? Line, leader, that sort of thing, etc. but yeah, definitely stop in and get some local knowledge. That's one thing I would highly recommend if you're just getting started.
I love that answer, man. Always do. All right. And here's the last one. It's a big one. What's next for you?
Ooh, good question. That's deep. Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm actually just getting into building my own lures. So, me and my dad have set up a workshop in our shed. So I'm kind of hand carving some timber lures for bass and cod and stuff around here. So I think that's kind of something I can work towards definitely in the next few years. So
congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love it.
So are you hand carving like whittle cart, or are we doing, what are we, how are we doing?
A little bit. So we've got 3 power tools. We use like a bandsaw, a scroll saw, and a belt sander. So basically you carve them out and then sand them back, hand paint them, and go from there. So these are some ones that I finished the other day. I don't know if you can be able to see these, but they're like kind of crankbait style.
Yeah, big head, small body. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, yep.
I like that yellow and black. That's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. That's my favorite.
Bait check number 3. This bait check is being brought to you by Ninja Tackle. Head on over to ninjatackleva.com and take a look at everything that they have in the shop. Not only are they Ninja Tackle, they're also Ninja Tactical. That's right. They have added optics and other firearm utilities to get yourself set up if you're in that realm and want to get yourself some good gear. Take a look at that. He also sells rigs, fishing lures, rods, in case you didn't know. That's right. Ninja Tackle's got you covered. Great shipping options, very fast, and extremely responsive to all messages. So head on over to ninjatackleva.com and get yourself set up. Thank you so much, Ninja Tackle. I appreciate you.
Congratulations, man. That's really super being on the move there. At least you know, hey, I'm going to keep moving, keep growing, keep doing all those good things.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on
hopefully,
go ahead.
Hopefully the international travel and stuff can come back, so we can start kind of getting some tours done and showing some people what we have to offer down here.
Now you got me hooked already, and not all pun intended, I guess. But I am excited to get out there and come down and take a look and come fishing there, because it just sounds, everything that you told me about Go Fish Australia, with tailoring it to anyone on that, but also the idea of being able to go fish with you, knowing you know the area and all the things you have said. It sounds like the perfect way to plan a trip is to come down, get in touch with Ange beforehand, get all set up, know you're going to get that, go out with you, go out with the Aborigine team, go out and see these things, but see your country and enjoy the fishing there, because it sounds awesome. It sounds like it's a great time.
Yeah, it is 100%.
Again, thank you so much for taking the time today. I appreciate it. I know it's the start of your day, the end of mine here, and I'm very thankful for this whole episode that you gave me, and so much great knowledge out there, man. You've definitely given me a couple things to think about, changing up on a few of my tactics, and I'm sure that it definitely helped quite a few listeners tonight, as fishing's fishing, but you gave some great nuggets of knowledge, so thank you very much for that.
Oh, awesome, mate. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Well, we will talk soon, and then we'll get all that info out on all the links and everything, and we'll talk then.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. I hope this episode helped you, because it seriously helped me. Go Fish Australia has got a ton of great things set up for you to go ahead and take a look at, to go out. If you plan on going down to the east coast of Australia for fishing, they can get you out on any different way you want. As you heard, Cody is one of the guides. He's going to get you out there, get you on the fish. You just can't go wrong. So that's gofishaustralia.com.au. Make sure you take a look at that for the website and all the information on there. They're also on your social media platforms of Facebook and I believe Instagram. I'll double check. It should all be good there. But thanks so much for taking a listen to the episode. You've been listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. I'm out of here.